Okay, so I actually was originally at Cortland University in New York. It was not a very good fit for me. I didn't like the small classroom sizes. I didn't really like the culture there. It just didn't vibe with me. So I transferred to University of Delaware, which was the perfect fit for me. The size of the classrooms really worked. Throughout my transfer, I was always involved in biology. I changed around a few times between biological studies. I danced around in pre-med for a second, and then I looked at bioeducation. So I've been kind of bouncing around the whole time, but the idea was I always wanted to be biology. I knew I liked biology because I was always interested in the content area. It enabled me to be a teacher, which is what I always really wanted to do, and it was honestly challenging. I thought that if I picked something that I thought was easy, I'd easily get bored. Or I'd quickly get bored. So I picked something that every class was a challenge. So when I got my grade back, it felt rewarding, not just like, oh, great, here's my A. So yeah.
So when I graduated high school, really wasn't sure like what I wanted to do. I was really strong in history, so I thought I wanted to be a history major. My father wanted me to be a business major, so I went to UOD and I wound up being a business major. After one semester, I quickly realized that that wasn't the path for me. So I switched to political science because I really thought I was going to go to law school afterwards. So at the end of my 4 years, I got my degree in political science and realized I really wasn't happy with that. And I wound up working in industry for a little while. I met someone who was in education because I was a history fan to begin with, and because I was a political science major, I thought, I'd really like to teach history. And I had a lot of really good teachers and mentors in high school. So I went back to Wilmington University to get my master's degree in education, and it's been 21 years since. I mean, that was the right fit for me. It took a little while, and sometimes it does, but I'm glad I kept exploring and taking classes to kind of find what made sense for me.
All right, so I started at UD as a history education major because I wanted to be a teacher, and I went to new student orientation going into my freshman year at UD, and those are the courses that I started with, but as an education major, I had a little bit of flexibility in what I had to take during my first year. So during my first year, I decided that I didn't want to do a history education major. I wanted to be a math teacher, which I don't really know why some days, but I decided that's what I wanted to do. So I had to talk to my advisor. And again, during your freshman year, it wasn't a big deal to switch because I kind of was just taking the regular college requirements. And once I talked to my advisor, I switched into math education major. And then I got enrolled in more math courses for the second half of my freshman year. And then from there, I was a math major and picked up a minor later on. But that's how I started.
I started off at Goldie Beacon College as a bachelor's in accounting degree student because in high school I focused a lot on accounting classes. And there was a couple courses that I had problems with that I needed to actually get a rude awakening of, okay, maybe this major is not cut out for me, so I switched to a bachelor's in management degree. Once I graduated that, I started working full-time and really wanted to work in the IT department. So at that time, I really needed to go back and earn a bachelor's degree in computer information systems.
So you went back for a second.
So I went back, and because it is a second degree, I didn't have to do as many courses. I only had to do 10 additional courses on top of my previous bachelor's degree.
Cool.
It took me until probably my junior or senior year of high school to realize what I wanted my major to be. I used to think I wanted to go into science. But it wasn't until my junior or senior year that I realized that I really loved English and that all along I had been helping my classmates and helping teach them concepts that they didn't understand. And I realized that I was pretty good at explaining things and that I really enjoyed helping other people understand difficult concepts. So I realized that English education actually was my true calling, and I ended up signing myself up for a scholarship loan that said, if I went to the University of Delaware, studied English education, and then taught in a Delaware public school for 4 years, I wouldn't have to pay my tuition at all. But if I didn't do those things, I'd have to pay my tuition plus 7% interest. So that was also really a motivating factor for me to stick with it, but I didn't really even need that piece because I found out that this is truly what I love, and I wouldn't change a thing.
So I started as an engineering major, and Over the course of time, I ended up tutoring a lot of friends in physics courses, and so I really enjoyed kind of helping them out in that way. And so I changed my major over to physics because I felt like I could either pursue the engineering angle as far as jobs are concerned, or also pursue the education angle, which I ended up in.
All right, so I chose business administration as my major. Once I got into business, I had to pick a concentration, and I chose marketing. The reason I originally had chose business administration, that had been more or less my go-to right when I was probably in the middle of high school. I had had a number of little jobs growing up, whether it be paper routes or mowing lawns, things like that, and always wanted to, had that strive to make as much money as possible. So continued on with that field, really enjoyed my time in college in business, learned a lot. Upon graduating, I started working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car in their management training program, and I learned a lot about the business field and how to really create your own business. I worked there for about 5 years, learned a tremendous amount of business techniques. About that time, I realized that my priorities had shifted. When my original goal was going into business was I wanted to make as much money as possible. As time went on, I realized that money was not necessarily was not driving me anymore, and it really was more into, how can I play a role in bettering our society. And so I explored a number of options, and teaching seemed to be the best option for me. I felt like I could have the most impact as a teacher. So from there, I took some time off from work and continued my education, worked on my master's at Wilmington University. After about 2 years, I got my degree in education and started teaching from there.
Can I have a blooper reel?
I'm just gonna do it anyway.
Let's go.